All right, welcome, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hey, today we're having another. I'm having another connection with one of my great friends that I met here in the last year, less than a year. But as you know, on our channel, we share our experiences, and I'm just kind of reaching out. So I want everybody to meet my buddy James right here, and definitely we have a lot to talk about. I've seen the other people that have been on definitely have great experiences, have awakened their Superman within, their spiritual senses, and definitely we became close. We're like, we are brothers completely. Hey, James, what's up?
Hey, Danny, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share this with you. I think just seeing how dedicated to this you are and how much passion you have for it, I've been very excited. And I think our brotherhood has grown throughout the months. I think
Yeah,
it's about a year now. So
yeah.
excited to. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When when you start connecting, with your frequency vibration, you start recognizing the type of awarenesses, right? And these experience come in that you've noted within, for those personal noted. It's life changing. The expansion is life changing, where you start noticing changes within yourself and your awareness, and then how you even can use that to even change your life, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think the awareness has been enhanced with you, if anything, because if you're the only one aware in a world of unawares, then
Yeah,
it's very hard to understand, right? So I think you came at a time in my life that was just meant to be, I would say,
yeah.
because I had so many questions, I had so many things, and like all this was brought to from your knowledge. I think you have helped me expand my awareness, and if anything, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, you are very. What I've definitely learned from you is how you've grown and how you use these perspectives to expand various parts of your life and your growth and relationships, connections with the others, even those who are unaware, right? And you're able to drive it. It's like you know how to maneuver that ship in these oceans now, even if the water is a little troubled, a little choppy, huge wave surf. You're able to actually at ease almost run through these or travel through these tough times or tough situations and current, and just you're just vibrant currency in so many ways. And it's funny, if I how we met at a dinner. We went to this event, had it when it was a dinner, and we met, did never knew him. He came in, I seen him talking, James, and he came up to our table. Um and then we started talking, and then once we talked, the door opened for you to sit by me. We didn't know each other. We didn't, you know we were, definitely strangers, or didn't know each other at all ever. But it ended up being, our conversation kicked into another level, just not into a, definitely an awakening level of connection, a realization, in our interface became a realization of that.
Yeah, like I to those dinners, just this
Yeah,
mode that I went to meet everyone, to talk to everyone. But I think for some odd reason, there was just a chair next to you.
yeah,
And I think we started talking, and then I think we didn't talk to anybody else after
yeah.
that.
It was like everybody was blocked out. We had actually
Yeah.
set another our space within the people, which almost we
So
were in
it
another
was very
space that,
interesting.
yeah, that they didn't recognize, and and it was like we weren't there with them almost. Right? We went to
Yes.
another place.
Yeah, it felt like I think what the way I put it is I had a lot of theories and
Yeah,
I just believed in a lot of things, awareness, perspectives. And when I spoke to you, I think you were so keen to listen to certain words or specific things
Yeah,
that it's just I could see how aware you are, and then that made me really appreciate how you see things, and then I just learned a lot from you.
yeah. And vice versa. I mean, our relationship to me, I hold very special because of this. Because once you enter into this field and perspectives and almost into that this awakening, which is almost like even to philosophy, right? We're a philosophy class looking for that philosopher's stone, right? And then we're coming from different perspectives and seeing multiple different perspectives and degrees differently, like almost like you look at a something in a 60 degrees and you look at it from 90, you get a whole different perspective, right?
And a lot of times too, like you could look at something for a long time. Let's say you looked at it 100 times, right? And someone comes and just shows you like that little 1% that you didn't see. And then
Yeah.
that
Wow.
1% just opens a whole new dimension for you because you didn't
Yes,
hit that. So
that's the incredibility about this, and it doesn't stop.
mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
you start getting more, it's like you're earning more degrees.
Yeah. And I feel like that just triggers curiosity, right? Like, so from just the perspective alone, you get just paying attention to
Yeah,
detail and slowing it down. I think that's a huge thing. And just having the curiosity to, okay, there might be another percentage that I didn't see, or might be
yeah,
another angle that I didn't see. And I think talking to people that live that way and then believe that way, it
yeah.
just it just makes the world beautiful.
It shows you the perspectives that we actually have the ability to live in the beauty and not have all the division and wars and famines and people not hating on each other and just wanting greed because they want power. We see that the line of connection between humans, it doesn't matter, get race and all the division out of it. We are all humans living an experience that have a connection to each other instead of always having to have a division.
Yeah, I think you've been awake for so long that it just gave me a whole different perspective of how to see things and how to appreciate and then really get that perspective from you. My question to you is like, when did you get your first perspective and what happened?
um, Even in the place I was at, I was getting um, some of that in the fact, but mostly all biblical um, understandings. Even before, but in 1992, I had an experience with another brother who lives in Washington, and in his house. And that's a whole story to go into how I got to his house because I wasn't planning to go to his house. Kind of like when I met you, I was told to go to this dinner within my God, higher self, universe, whatever people want to use. Within, I see there's a connection to us with that. We just have to awaken it because it's within us. It's like we have to turn on the light, right? As the light turns on, we start having changes. You see better when the light comes on. I always notice that, and me and him had an experience that lasted and changed me from that point on to that's where it started just growing and expanding for the last 30 years, 31 years, and really went to high volume after 2012. It started really going faster for me, and then recently faster. It's, if I want to use that word of quicker, but it seems like sometimes if you overthink fast, it's like overwhelming, but you start realizing, and I know this will probably hit home if you say it. I just thought about this 2 days ago, talking to our past guest, you guys will see, is Vina, which you'll see her video if you remember Vina. Um, was I talked to her that yesterday, and she said it hit me that she was saying about the fast too, like you, since recently, since we actually met, she's really just going fast. Um, and but what I noticed that the fastness is not affecting you staying with it.
Hmm.
You're keeping up with the speed that it's going. It's almost like time is no more, right? The
Yeah.
time's like speeded up, but you could say, oh, it gets no, don't concentrate on the overwhelm. You actually are keeping up with it.
Now, that is really interesting. I didn't think of that because I think in the beginning I felt really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But you're right. It feels like time, there's no more. And then it feels like it just time is a created thing, right? Like it doesn't really exist. There's no one pushing you to go forward. There's no one telling you where to go. There's
Right.
nothing putting pressure and stressing you out to
Yeah.
do things. It's all internal, right? So I think once you become more present and
Yeah.
you become more aware, it allows you to just be you, to just
Yeah.
go for it and have the belief to go for it.
It's like, yeah. And it's like so revealing perspective. It's like, I thought about this perspective and I know you'll like it because I know me and you have talked and it's like pinging off each other and then you start and I can feel it right now even is um once you start it's like you know how DNA kind of like a staircase, right? Spirit is spiral. No, spiral. It's the same word in etymology. And spirit goes like a spiral. That's how the moves, even up through what we're talking, we were talking before we got online, we are talking about how Christ is an oil, right? And it goes down. That's spiraling down this too, your cord, because that's how it moves. That's how energy moves.
Mhm.
um, Feminine, masculine, the connection together moves. So when you start untangling your false ego self, you have to untangle like a spiral. Like
Mm.
to go reverse engineering is doing the opposite, going back in reverse engineering. You have to go in the order it came. You have to spiral it back to reverse engineer it to untangle tangles. Like, I
So,
think
so do
when
you,
entanglement, yeah,
yeah, do you think once you're like your energy is getting going to a higher level, right?
yeah,
You're high. Um, is it a slower process because you're learning more, you're collecting perspectives. It's
yeah.
a lot more details, right? As opposed to when you're spiraling down out of control, it's fast. And it always feels like you're in a blender, like if you're unaware.
Yeah, like kind of like crawling, going up the steps to a slide,
Mhm.
but then going down the slide. It's a lot different than going up the stairs one step at a time, right? Like you just said.
Yes, that's true. And then, so why do you feel like the unaware is always like things are moving really fast, and then it's almost like triggers that fear, right?
Yeah, it's because of the lack of awareness. But think about this, even perspective, everybody. We were pure light living in a physical form. So it means we had to come to density. We fell. That's a
Mhm.
whole story. Like when they talk about the fall of man, one of the perspectives of the fall is falling from light and energy that has no, that has total freedom to being in a dense body, and now you're stuck. And it's like almost the forgetfulness or the amnesia of the gods.
Mhm.
They don't know who they are, where they came from, or how did we get here in this body or avatar, right? And
Yeah.
and the awakening is to realize, oh, this really is, this perspective start coming. You start having a realization: who am I, right?
Yeah.
What am I? Why am I? The
Because
curiosity, right?
yeah, because it's almost like you get trapped within yourself, right? Where the aware
Wow.
and
Yeah.
the perspective, it's like infinite. So it's almost like you're awakening the ego or breaking out of that so you could liberate from yourself.
And
That's
you know what? And it's really a false sense of self, right? The ego, right? It's there, but really it's kind of your own illusion that you get caught in the trap. And you said something that really sparked something in me right now, because I when we really start talking and spend time together, we start ting ting, almost like how when you hit the bowls, the frequency bowls, ching,
Yes, the singing both.
Yeah, but yeah, as we both do meditation, and definitely I use sound frequency by for that, and definitely a lot of stuff that Eastern Buddhism type, because it's all true. It's those aspects are connected, very ancient aspects, right? Um, Everything's frequency vibration, but I was looking at that and I was thinking how you said something, the trap, how a prism, right? You put a prism in a light and then the other light comes from it, right? Comes through
Sure.
it. The prism, well, a prism could easily be a prison,
Mm, very
right?
true. Yeah.
And the prism to yourself, if you get caught in one light and don't realize there's six other ones from the prism that you have space to have, but you're stuck in one. It's like a
Yeah.
prison. Being stuck is a prison, and we
And
get stuck here in our thinking.
yeah, and then that just makes me think like I looked at like waves or even heartbeats when we're in panic or in fear or just frustrated, and it's a very fast movement, right?
Yeah,
So I feel like meditation essentially it's settling down. So there's the sense of like silence, stillness, solitude that
yeah,
what and it's kind of weird, right? Like we always talk about this of the sense of duality,
yeah,
where being alone, if anything, unlocks everything for you, as opposed to having everything you feel empty inside. So there's always
yeah,
this duality that I always feel.
yeah, yeah. See that perspective there when you see it is you were using the solitude, silence. It's almost like the S words, right?
Mhm.
And if you notice a S, it's like a spiral,
Yeah.
right?
Hey, there you go.
And that perspective of the movement is you're unlocking yourself to find yourself. It's like I had this thought, and I know you'll go because it goes with exactly what you said the other day. Was there's an old saying, "Can you find a needle in a haystack?"
Mm. Yeah,
Right?
impossible. Yeah,
But the reality, we do that. We're doing that now,
yeah.
and we're having success finding the needles
Mhm.
or the needle. Yeah, just. But you're right. The getting alone. Another friend of mine that I know, one of my son's best friends, he made this thing about because he's spends a lot of time in solitude because he can be a loner, and he's married, and his wife's the opposite. She's a life of the party,
Yeah.
always wanting to connect outside of herself. A lot of people are my wife's kind of similar to that too. Um, I can be both,
Yeah.
and I think you can be both. Um,
Yeah. And my wife is the quiet one.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and he made a really, 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 really good statement to me one time and made me really think when you're always looking outside yourself because you're always looking to connect that extrovert, that's where you don't find yourself. And you
Wow.
have to have the balance to come and be an introvert because it's in, and that's when you start dealing with yourself or awakening or seeing yourself. And I go, that's a really good perspective. That's a fight that they have, especially if they're natural extroverts, to have that introvert experience to awaken themselves. Because if you're always outside yourself, you don't know where to look.
And I think we've been kind of like drowned with dopamine, with distractions, with drug, alcohol, porn, movies, TV, ads. I feel like there's so much noise in the world that it's just hard for you to even stop to think, right?
Yeah,
So there's a massive fear to just sit quiet in a room for 30 minutes. I feel like the world will be a better place.
yeah, oh yeah. Um, you said something there though. When I see that, because there's so much trying to get your attention,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
those are a lot of that becomes entanglements
Mhm.
if you indulge with them with no knowledge of you. Because I put this video out in 2019 when everything shut down, and it's your perspective how you seen it because it said, "Did you get your go home orders?" This is really when I started doing these videos. If you got your go home orders, did you really go home? Meaning, did
Mhm.
you really go within?
Yeah.
Because that's, I think, because what we're seeing, I think since then, is there's a lot of more people waking up,
Hmm.
even though we went, we were almost trapped and pushed away from each other. 6 feet was very, very, it gets you out of auras touching, fields coming together. Because when you're in the presence of people, your auric fields meet,
Yeah.
right? And when you separated it, but what the other catch 22 on the other side was, that was time for you to find your individual self. Who am I? Like that song on NCIS or the Who am I? Who are you? Who am I? Really get to know who you are, and not just James or Danny or Daniel,
Yeah.
because that's really just a label.
And to be honest, the pandemic is the time that helped me wake up,
Yeah,
which is not that long ago, right? Like
yeah,
going, so which is 4 years ago. So for me, I think once I got that initial discomfort, I distracted myself with everything I could. I was playing video games, I was watching all TVs, and there was nothing else to do, right?
right.
So once you come to that realization, I feel like a lot of people during the pandemic, there was a lot of extremes. So either people didn't get any differences, and the other side was a lot of people woke up from it, just from
Yeah,
that quietness and silence and having a time to. It's almost like it feels like a movie. Like we always talk about, it's a movie, and things are moving along, and then out of the blue it stops. You're like that character that's like, wait, why am I keep doing the Truman Show, right?
right. That's what I was thinking when you said that. I was visualizing the Truman Show. Exactly.
Yes, it's like the Truman Show. Like everybody wakes up, does the same thing, circle, say hi to the same people, talk to the same people, eat the same way, brush their teeth the same way, sleep at the same time.
Mm,
So then once it stops, then you're just like, okay, where am I? Where
yeah.
am I?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And if you look, I remember one scene when he had his wife in the car and he was telling her, wait, 10:18, here she comes. Look,
Yeah.
there it is. And he was actually observing it. His perspective was to observe it and say, look, watch. And that's what we're really to start doing, right?
Yes. And then it just, I think the adjustment period was really hard for me because it's like now you're the character saying, hey, 10:18, this is gonna happen,
Yeah.
11 o'clock is gonna happen, and then but nobody is listening to you. And
Yeah.
then so when you came in, that was the time of like, hey, I know I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
It's like the Matrix. You came out of the Matrix and you gave me a pill to.
Yeah. I mean, some people have said that's not a movie, it's a documentary. Right? And I think we could vouch for that. Yeah, those experiences like that. It's like how this is arranged. It's like with all the negativity we know that comes from everywhere around us. But when I go in the community, a lot of the negative that we're being told, I notice when I'm in the community, I don't get that from people when I'm out in the community, right? So when they give us stuff, which is probably true, a lot of stuff, but it's only a piece of it because it's like, oh, it's dangerous out there. This man shot this woman. Well, it's not going in every. It's not your next door neighbor. It happens. Some of
Yeah.
it could be false narrative too, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because we're in the show. Is um, but when I go out in the community, I don't see people coming at me certain ways that's propagated that we see that's happening. I don't
Mhm.
see people saying. I see people. I try to, and this is what I'm going to go back, digress to what you said. Think about this. Is you said that we see 11 o'clock. This is where we get into power. We change 11 o'clock
Mhm.
because now we're in a play to change us taking our hand off that
Mhm.
wheel of what's happening in that the world. And we now kind of draw back, and now we're not fitting that narrative. And I see a lot to that. It's almost like you're breaking the algorithms, right? You
It's
don't
true.
fit. You're messing with my program.
It goes back to like how we were raised by our parents, by school, by our laws. So for me, it was very confusing times because I was born in Brazil, and the customs are different, the people are different, culture is all different. Just to give you an example, everybody kissing the cheek when they see each other. Over here, that's like a sexual assault.
Exactly.
So it's like polar opposites.
Yeah.
It's maybe that helped with my process because I'm seeing like almost like going into different movie scenes, and
Yeah.
then you're dressed as a cowboy, and now you're dressed as a Brazilian guy, and then now you're
Yeah.
in America. So it's like all different. So that gives you plenty of perspectives. So I just love kind of understanding different perspectives.
Yeah. And when, like you just said, the different perspective, because with a different culture, a different place, because it wasn't that long ago, it wouldn't be.
Mhm.
I mean, we know the opposite goes there, that people are probably hitting on people and work and stuff like that, but that's not it. The greeting, because in my family, because I'm actually half Mexican,
Mhm.
that side, that's what we do.
Mhm.
I mean, my wife gets funny because on that side of the family, when we meet, and she's like, no, no, not that she won't kiss, but I have an aunt and uncle will kiss me right here, still
Mhm.
to this day, and they're
Yeah.
trying to do that to her, and she's like, this is, I don't mind the hugging because she's a huggy person anyways, and a very net, but the kissing on the lips was like her, well, no, don't, on the cheeks fine, but no, but these aunts, and they're Latino, or that's the culture, to hug
Yeah.
and embrace, right? To love. And it's not that the others don't, it's just the showing of it's not held back.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
not
like
awkward.
how we interact, how we talk, how we show love, how we share values, how we just spend time together. It's all different, like different
Yeah.
hobbies. Well, one place you could shake your hand and then
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a problem. On another culture, that's like a threat or something, right?
Yeah.
Like
Or
so, it just shows the polarity. Even finger signals. Like one place is like good, the other one is like F you, right? So
yeah, even I know with my wife and her cult, like, this is a no-no.
yeah.
But for me, I'll do that if I'm talking with something, especially in this kind of thing. If I go like that, for me, I'm thinking, you just said something. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sticking my antenna. You just brought something that was powerful. It's like my antenna, bring it to me, And it's not meant to be bad before that. Another culture, that's, it's like not eating the food. Oh, I'm not really hungry now. But for the culture, it's like, that's offensive, right?
Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, why do you think the news and the things are speeding up? Why is there such a, because things are happening way faster now, and I think it doesn't help that everything's breaking news 24/7. Everything is happening. Like yesterday alone, there was the attack from Iran, right? So why do you think things are speeding up?
um, there's a lot there. I think for us in another realm, it's speeding up because I think with all the negative going, we have something working for us, or we wouldn't be doing this right now,
Mm,
right?
true.
Where we have certain things where, like, man, get out. I don't trust you, especially with news, lying, and other aspects, as what I'm talking about. But agendas. Let's just put agendas as the word. Is that they're speeding up? I think we talked about it off the air. Was I noticed in recently how people are talking about the things that year not very long ago only the tinfoil hats talked about,
Hmm.
and now it's like they're talking about it. It's like, it's like something's going on where even they're telling you,
Hmm.
even, I even look at one of the presidential okay, he's been telling you it's fake news for 4 or 5 for 8 years,
Yeah.
right? Not necessarily meaning you got to jump on that train,
Hmm.
but that wasn't done before, you know. Um, and we're at so it's still giving me this one thing. So we're about 10 minutes. So what we'll do is we still got about 10 minutes is we'll do it to side two. We'll go off until this gets cleared. It shouldn't be this, but I did it on the other videos, which is fine. We got to work this out with Zoom. I've already paid. They're saying it's like it's not registering because you can have free usage of Zoom,
Yeah.
but you're limited to 40 minutes. But I don't have that. But that's another story. I got to deal with them. But we'll just go in and out. But we're over 9.5 minutes. So, but what was I digressed about? What we're talking about is going into it's happening fast for us too, but it's there's a playbook and it's the book of Revelations, and that's kind of it's not kind of it's what's happening. Um, they're using the symbologies there and the things they're doing. The wars and rumors of wars that was spoke about is happening. Pushing agendas of war. We have a group of people trying to get us into globalism, which is leading us into, all being one and not really having national standards anymore, or individualities, right? Um, but the reality is that we're here and there's definitely something working on our behalf. Call it universe, call it God, call it a teammate, because if it was the other way, we wouldn't even be doing certain stuff. And then they're kind of putting it out there that this is what's happening on levels like you wouldn't have Joe Rogan talking about all these conspiracies are become true. He wouldn't
Elon
say
Musk,
that, huh?
yeah,
Right?
Elon Musk constantly
Yeah.
calling out, saying things,
Yeah.
saying, well, we're running out of conspiracy theories. So
Yeah.
that's crazy times.
Yeah. Which they were looked at as you guys are off in
Crazy.
never land, and the stuff's true. One of the things when they built this system with the internet, you can have definitely more surveillance and power,
Yeah.
but also it was going to open up a door to people find out things, because that's the other side. We live in a duel. You meant it for bad, good is on the other side, or addition for other people, for the people will come out of it,
Mhm.
because we can find certain things that I can find certain things that definitely is there. You can look up something and say, man, he's told the truth about that. It's there. I can find it. This is happening.
And
Yeah.
it's amazing that you found things 30 years ago. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. Like
You
30
know,
years to be the
yeah.
only awake one, that must be hard.
Uh, yeah. And the level, I was not on this level when I started. I was more still biblical. I mean, I continued in ministry, but it wasn't the traditional mainstream. It was like independent thinking ministry.
Mhm.
Certain doctrinal things were dropping from me. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was telling them, like, the doctrine, they talk about going to hell and burning forever. That's not real. That comes from Buddhism, and it doesn't mean that in Buddhism, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that. It means when you're in a thought of negativity, you are in fear and trembling because you're gnashing your teeth, because that's what the scripture says, because you're trapped in hell here.
Mm,
You're
interesting.
negative and adverse thinking to your power, downplaying yourself, bad self-talk, right? Bad energy, bad juju, right? You keep putting it out. That's what's coming back to you. If you think negative, positive's not coming.
Yeah.
You're going to get the reflection of what you put out.
Well, why is it
That's your
so
hell.
hard? Why is it so hard for people to flip the switch? Some people are very negative, period.
Um, God, there's such a stuck with that, right? And the lack of awareness. This is where it really is effective for them, that they don't know. It's like, I don't know how to open a door, even though the handle's there, because I don't know. I'm not aware there's a handle there,
Mhm.
even
So,
though, yeah, they really don't know. And that's the effect of it, is almost you become collateral damage to yourself.
mhm. Wow,
Uh,
that is so powerful. Like there's a door to exit, right?
yeah,
And there's a handle there, but because you were told that handle is not a handle, it's just
yeah,
another piece of the door, you never try it.
yeah. It's like I've heard stories, people talk about slavery. It was like the freedom was there, but they were trapped still here.
Mm,
and couldn't walk out of it, you know.
And
Um,
then the negativity just attracts negativity. It's incredible. It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, I'll call it.
yeah.
So
And yeah, and you start speaking that on yourself, and you're creating. And this is what's wrong. What's so bad about it are that people don't know is how powerful they are. Whether you're speaking abundance to yourself and unity and oneness and wholeness and growth, and that you are that, even though
mhm.
we know we have the ability for the other side, but this is where you're at, and that's what you're attracting, putting
Yeah,
out good energy, talking to people or whatever, just giving them wholesomeness of, you know, of connection, or cursing yourself in every second,
yeah.
wondering why things don't work out and repeating that cycle.
Mm.
You're
Very.
you're you're creating it for yourself.
It's a constant, like living in hell, like you said, right? Like how do
Yeah.
they how it's incredible how people could live their whole lives like that and then not be able to leave that the hell essentially.
Yeah. That's yeah. And stuck there. I know of people that will watch news 24/7 on the news channel. There was a time, not, and the not so past, that there was not all this TV that was 24/7.
Yeah.
And the news channel, there was no such a thing as 24/7.
Well,
You
why is
know,
that so addicting to hear breaking news and all this negativity?
it's like I'm going to reverse engineer that. I just seen this when you said this in another perspective. Is, you know how we see they're not curious,
Mhm.
but they're always curious for that which is outside of them, to bring them something. It's like a circus. What's next? Right? What's the next act? But it's always continually dividing you, because what comes from the news is negativity. If I must say, in YouTube, yeah, propaganda. Uh,
Does it feed the negativity with more negativity?
yeah,
So so then it's
that's,
almost becoming an addiction.
yeah. Anything can become an addiction, where we think primarily drugs is addiction, but TV can become addiction. A habit's addiction. Sex can become addiction. Eating can become an addiction.
Mhm.
Um, all this can become an addiction, which is like an entanglement, in that you got to break. If you're in our mindset, we know that they don't. They feel stuck, and the only place you really get stuck is here.
But that's why awareness is so powerful, right? You could break that cycle of like,
Yeah,
I want more negative news, I want more food, and then you're just overeating, overindulging.
yeah,
It's a constant quest, non-stop quest.
yeah, yeah. And then you indulge in it, and like you said earlier, you said a keyword. What gives you a dopamine high, which is like an addiction?
Mhm.
If it gives you a dopamine high, but um, some of the things, with that, when you kind of look at it, if you're always getting a dopamine, you're running, you're using this. It has to replenish itself. And
Yes,
when it's through that process, you're going to go to the lower part when it starts dwindling, and you have to do it again.
it
And
almost draws, it withdraws everything you have inside. It almost like the way I see it is it keeps emptying your tank, right? And then it's a constant going and going and going. And then you're just like this mice hitting the dopamine lever
yeah,
constantly.
and you seen the test they did with sugar. Sugar was more addictive than cocaine. We have a diet. We have a sugar. The processed food and the drinks are all based on, especially with a lot of sugar, especially sodas and the. I remember my son coming by. Look, I'm drinking juice, and I look on it, and it's got 32 grams of sugar. This isn't juice. This is
Yeah.
sugar and water with some food coloring,
And it's addicting too.
and it's addicting. Yeah.
Wow.
Um.
All these chemicals just play with your
Yeah.
mind.
So we're gonna take a break and do side two.
Yeah.
If you want to keep going, are you good? You're good, Flo, and we'll do
Yeah.
number two.
Yeah. We'll do one more, number two.
Okay. So I'm going to go off and we'll get back on here in a few and do part two of this.